Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Sometimes politicians are so desperate for attention that they'll do or say anything, even things that are quite obviously a load of old rubbish. It's just simply so they can remain relevant, get their vizog onto a newspaper front page, and make wild claims about how wonderful and brilliant they are, when in truth, we know how awful they are. Alex Salmond is no exception to this. He's making claims that he just can't justify, simply so that he can sort of remain in the public eye, hopefully with the eye of grabbing a few more voters. Of course, being an awful person that he was, and having done some terrible things for Scotland over the years, he's now rebranding himself as this battle-hardened, world-weary, put-upon guy who stands up for the general everyman in Scotland, when we know he's nothing of the sort. But this ridiculous claim he made yesterday does not deserve to be gone unchallenged, shall we put it that way. We must challenge this. It's like claiming, for example, that Humza Yousaf will say it is now SNP policy that the sun will rise every morning, and then the following morning when the sun does rise, claiming it as a victory for the efficiencies of the SNP. This story is no different, but it is risible, it is awful, it is an example of a man who has got nothing to offer. And it is funny. So here goes. So, laughable, Al-Bapati tried to claim credit for the return of the Stone of Destiny with demands met boast. Yeah, Alex Salmond saying, oh, we demanded it back. It was always coming back. It was only going down to London for 3-4 days. He sits on the chair, he has a funny hat put on his head, and away it goes. And then the stone comes back. I mean, if anything, you shouldn't be worrying about the stone. You should really be complaining about him sitting on the throne of Edward I, you'd have thought. But anyway, Alex Salmond and his band of not-so-merry nationalists had moaned about the relic going south and tried to claim its demands had been met after it came back to Edinburgh. It wasn't a demands met. It was never going to be staying there. Now, I know it did stay there for hundreds of years. I think it was, I can't remember when it went back. Sometimes in the 80s, I think. It was brought south by Edward I, and then it sat in Westminster, I think, until middle of the 80s. I'm sure it's something like that when it was given back. So it's not as though there's a grand history of it actually ever being in Scotland, over the last sort of 800 years or so. I mean, this is, it's a significant but tiny battle that Alex Salmond is trying to claim credit for, because he's got no credit anywhere else. Anyway, Alex Salmond's Al-Bapati has been roundly mocked for trying to take credit for the return of the Stone of Destiny. The former SNP leader used the coronation to try and stoke up a bizarre grievance about the rock, which had been used to crown Scottish, English and British monarchs for hundreds of years. He's sitting there going on all the bloody coronation. Oh, I'm a nationalist, I'm a Republican. Do you know how many members of the SNP were at that coronation? I mean, it's a joke, isn't it? Oh, they're all going, we're Republicans, we don't want anything to do with that. And there he is. There's old Humza there. There's old Beryl Flynn was there. They're all there. They're all there because, we want to be Republicans, but hey, we want to be with the royal family as well. Yeah, that's great. Let's get down there, show people that we mix it with royalty. Two-faced hypocritical tossers. Anyway, before the ceremony, Salmond, who is a member of the King's Privy Council, so he hasn't given up the fact that he's a Privy Council member. And for, I'm sure you all know, but just in case there's one or two who don't, the Privy Council is an organisation that you are invited into. You attend various functions with the King. The King is the titular head of the Privy Council. You are his private counsel. You are there to give advice to the King. It's an honourable role. You get to call yourself the Right Honourable. And when you hear MPs, most MPs will call, the Honourable Gentleman or the Honourable Lady. But if you're a member of the Privy Council, you're the Right Honourable. And that makes Alex Salmond a Right Honourable. But he doesn't want to give that up, even though he's moaning about the King having this stone under that throne while he gets crowned, and he's happy to be, in the Privy Council, and yet still calls for a republic. How about actions following your words, Alex Salmond? How about giving up your membership of the Privy Council? Or, that's non-starter, isn't it? You hypocritical, two-faced tosspot. Anyway, before the ceremony, Salmond, who is a member of the King's Privy Council, claimed he would not have allowed the relic to be taken south, despite it belonging to the Crown. And he took a pop at Humza Yousaf for meekly allowing the stone to be taken to London for the ceremony. Ah, bless. And if he was in charge, do you think he'd have been able to stop it? So he's absolutely full of piss and wind. He really is. It was confirmed on Tuesday that the artefact was back at Edinburgh Castle, where it will sit until it is moved to a new museum in Perth. And despite that always being the plan, Alba, which has never won an election of any sort in Scotland, has claimed its demands have been met. And he's desperate to win a seat. He's desperate to get back into politics because he needs the money. This is the whole reason he set up Alba in the first place, because he needs those members to join him and pay their dues so that he can draw a salary. And it's as simple as that. He's yesterday's man, but he's so desperate to remain in the news, to remain relevant, that he keeps making these outrageous claims that the whole of the British establishment and the whole of the royal household paid attention to this sad little man who's got zero power, zero influence, and very, very little chance of ever having any again. Oh yes, we'll listen to him and we'll bend the knee to Alex Salmond, a man who talks about republicanism but yet can't give up his membership of the Privy Council. Hypocrite. In a statement, the party's national organising convener, Denise Findlay, added, "The Stone of Destiny is an ancient symbol of our nation's sovereignty. To some, it may just be a lump of rock, but it is our lump of rock." She said the sole reason it takes part in the coronation at Westminster is to symbolise the overlordship of Scotland. And she does have a point there, because originally that's what it was. It was Edvardus Primus Malleus Scotori. That's written on his tomb. Edward I, Hammer of the Scots. He had to make a point. Although the Scots got their own back, obviously, on his son. Edward II, Bannockburn springs to mind. The Scottish constitutional tradition has a history that Scottish kings swore an oath of allegiance to the people, so it was bitterly disappointing that whilst Westminster denies Scots their right to self-determination, the First Minister agreed to allow the stone to travel to London before following it there to needlessly swear an oath of allegiance to King Charles. Two things in that sentence. Actually, three things in that sentence, but two of them are obvious. She said Westminster denies Scots their right to self-determination. I believe that the results of the last referendum showed that Scots denied Scots the chance to self-determination. And also, she said needlessly swear an oath of allegiance to King Charles. Actually, every politician must, by law, swear the oath. They cannot take their seats without it. So it isn't needless, it's an act of parliament. If you don't like it, vote elsewhere. But she also said about that Scottish kings swore an oath of allegiance on it. Every Scottish king swore an oath of allegiance on it. Every single one. Even the ones that were ruling England. You stupid woman. Anyway, she also called on the stone to go on a nationwide tour. Welcome to Cardiff. Oh, not that kind of nationwide tour. Before being moved to Perth. But the self-important tone of the statement led to much hilarity on social media. It is, after all, just a stone. Conservative MSP Stephen Kerr said it gave him a good chuckle for the evening. And Perth and Kinross Conservative councillor Angus Forbes said, "Hilarious. I'm sure they were hanging on every word of the Alba party, and that made a huge difference." Yeah, I mean, they're sitting there, oh my God, we can't do this, can't do that. Why? Because some man that we've never heard of, in a town in Scotland that we've never heard of, has said something. It ain't rubbish, isn't it? It's absolute crap. One Twitter user said, "This is like the Bob Hope film when he predicts an eclipse to the natives and they treat him as a god." And another added, "Student politics from Alba. It was always going to be returned. Just how juvenile can you be? It's a sacred stone. Why is your party leader still a privy councillor? If you feel so strongly in our king's coronation procedure." And that's it. He is ultimately just a hypocrite, but full of piss and wind. He does. "Oh, we demand it comes back." And it was always coming back. What an absolute oaf. He really is. And of course, he's got no power. He's unlikely to ever have power. I think the last poll suggested that at the next Holyrood elections, Alba might just get one seat. One. And you know that Salmond will have that for himself because he's desperate for the money. Anyway, I'm rounding off and coming up. It's sad how far Salmond has fallen from being the First Minister and leading a national government to being really a rather sad, pathetic figure on the outlying parts of political life in Scotland. Not a single seat, barely any supporters, likely only maybe to scrape a single seat at the next Holyrood elections. Desperate to remain relevant, desperate to be in the news, but mainly desperate to get money. But making these outrageous claims in the hope that people listen to him and think that he is this wise old bird. And really, he's just a sad and pathetic little man who needs really to leave politics, go into a private life, and just become, that man down the road with the strange views. It is sad. It is very sad to see someone fall like that. But it's bloody amusing. And it keeps, while he keeps doing it, I'll keep making videos. I don't care. But yeah, he is a sad little man, desperate for attention now. He'll never amount to anything again. His day is done. His day has come. His day is gone. And now he enters the murky world, the murky netherworld of yesterday's politics. Bye-bye, Salmond. It's time to go. And it's time for me to go. So thanks very much for listening. If you like what you're seeing here on the channel, please hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well. Just go and visit the stone when it goes back to Perth. And goodbye.